So recently, there's been a massive update in the Dress to Impress drama. The game's former community manager, BeaPlays, finally made a response to the situation, and honestly, from what I read, it might be one of the worst responses I've ever seen. I'm talking about almost ukulele apology level bad. In this video, I'm going to break down all of the new updates, with Logan going public just a few weeks ago, BeaPlays' disastrous response, Logan's reply to that response, and finally how Dress to Impress themselves handled things, because, if I'm being honest, it was handled really poorly. But before we get into it, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment to let me know what you think about all this. It really helps the video out and keeps people informed. Before we dive into the new updates, let's do a quick recap of what happened in my last video. So basically, the whole Dress to Impress situation blew up after their community manager, BeaPlays, who also happens to be a Roblox YouTuber with over 600,000 subscribers, got exposed for a long list of disturbing behavior. The drama first went viral because of the Lady Gaga collaboration event, which was completely misleading and ended up being more of a PR stunt than anything else. But what really escalated things was the resurfacing of vlogs showing BeaPlays, who was 20 at the time, messaging Logan, who was a boy who repeatedly said he was only 16. On top of that, multiple other victims came forward saying that B had manipulated, mistreated, or them when they were between 12 and 14 years old. It wasn't just about B either. The game's owner, Gigi, already had a history of disgusting behavior like doxing, NSFW servers involving minors, and protecting staff accused of all of that, plus B's horrible handling of the backlash on stream, the toxic moderation environment, and the testimonies from former staff, painted a pretty clear picture of a team that was corrupt and unsafe. Eventually, B was fired and demoted from her position, but the damage was already done. That's where we left off last time, and now since then, there have been some new massive updates, including B's so-called response to everything, Logan speaking out publicly, and the way Dress to Impress as a whole has completely botched their handling of the situation. Anyways, now that you're caught up with the whole situation, let's move into what happened after my last video. On August 27th, a day after I uploaded my coverage, Logan went public. He created a Twitter account under the name Throwaway Go Away and released a document sharing his side of the story with B. In that statement, Logan explained that he and B were never officially dating, but their relationship crossed serious boundaries. He first joined her Minecraft server back in February 2019 on his 16th birthday, while B was already 20. Not long after, she told him, "I like you more than a friend," something Logan admits left him confused since he had just came out as gay. From there, things escalated. Logan says B would him around their friend group while he was still 16 and eventually pressured him into sending photos. In Logan's words, "Eventually I sent her the picture, she offered me money, so of course I agreed. There were multiple videos/pictures sent, and I received thousands of dollars. That money wasn't small either. Logan says it paid for his entire gaming setup, Twitch subs, and even a plane ticket to the UK. When he did move to the UK in 2021, Logan says the dynamic only got worse. Within the first week, B was already trying to start a relationship. He recalls her offering him money in exchange for acts, and even secretly ordered him doubles at bars when he didn't ask for it. One night, he says, she kept trying to do things to me even though I did not want to. By the time Logan returned home, he says he felt manipulated, trapped, and depressed. In his own words, "I am still amazed at how well she is at manipulating and gaslighting people to get things she wants. She made me feel absolutely crazy. Because of her, I was severely depressed for a long time." He closed off the document by stressing that he's not speaking out for clout, but because people need to know what B has done. And he even made a point to say that he doesn't want anyone sending her threats, he just wants the truth out so he can finally move on. I need to be completely clear about my thoughts on this. What Logan described in his document isn't just a case of bad judgment or some awkward online friendship. From what was described, this is behavior, plain and simple. Logan was 16 years old and B was a 20-year-old adult at the time. That's not a small gap. That's a legal adult actively blurring boundaries with someone who is still a kid. Logan explained how B confessed feelings to him multiple times while he was still 16. She asked him in conversations with their friend group, pressured him into sending photos, and even paid him thousands of dollars for it. And it wasn't just some one-off moment. Logan said that there were multiple pictures and videos sent, and in return he got things like a full gaming setup, Twitch subs, PayPal transfers, and even a plane ticket to the UK. That's not just unhealthy, that's manipulation. And here's where some things get even worse. Some people will try to argue, well, 16 is the age of consent in some places, but it doesn't hold up here. Consent laws don't make it okay to solicit or receive photos from someone under 18. That law is very clear. If you're under 18 photos, that is material. There are no excuses and no loopholes. But it doesn't just stop there. We also can't ignore the fact that B literally flew Logan out to the UK, and this is where the federal age of consent comes in. When you cross state lines or international borders, the law changes. The age of consent isn't 16 anymore, it's 18. That's because of the US federal law, specifically the Mann Act, which makes it illegal to transport across borders for. So not only was B's behavior already, but the second she involved travel, it moved into federal crime territory. What makes it even worse is a power imbalance. B wasn't just some random 20-year-old, she was a YouTuber with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, she had money, and she had influence. Logan, on the other hand, was a 16-year-old fan just getting into content creation. She held all the power in that situation, and she used it to manipulate him into things that he admits he regrets to this day. So you have to keep this in mind, this isn't just inappropriate behavior, it's and it's and it shows a clear pattern of B using her platform, her status, and her money to take advantage of minors. There is absolutely no way to defend this, no matter how you look at it. Now, let's talk about B's response, and if I'm gonna be completely honest, this is easily one of the worst apologies or responses that I've ever seen. And listen, I'm gonna be completely honest, I genuinely believe that the ukulele apology would be a better apology than whatever the hell BeaPlays said in this, because genuinely one of the worst responses I've ever read. It is way too long, it's rambling, and instead of taking any real accountability, it's mostly packed full of excuses. First off, B opens up by saying that the statement is not to dodge accountability, but then spends paragraphs talking about her depression, dysphoria, and how she was at the lowest point in her life when she befriended Logan. She frames the whole situation around her own struggles rather than focusing on the fact that she was a 20-year-old adult, a 16-year-old. That is not deflection, it's not accountability. She even tries to downplay things by saying Logan was legally under the age of consent, but she was too young to properly understand what was appropriate. B was 20 years old. That is not too young to understand. At 20, you're fully aware that a 16-year-old is a kid, and that comments or asking for photos are not okay. Trying to paint herself as somehow naive or ignorant at that age is really insulting. I just can't seem to comprehend how at 20 years old, you don't understand that messaging a 16-year-old with those intentions is somehow morally wrong. How do you think? This should be common sense. How do people not understand that a 20-year-old should not be messaging a 16-year-old boy? Another huge issue is how she constantly shifts the focus back to herself. She goes on about how she's been in therapy for 3 years, how she volunteers, how she would want to become a better person, and if I'm being quite honest, none of that matters when the core issue here is her behavior towards Logan. She brushed it aside like a side note. It reads less like an apology and more like a resume of her self-improvement journey. Even worse, B tries to act like this was just some toxic friendship gone wrong instead of acknowledging the fact that she a minor. Lines like, "I created a relationship that was not acceptable and simply it should have never happened," massively underplays what really went on. It wasn't just not acceptable, it was Also, notice how she avoids naming Logan directly. She frames him as just someone underage in her friend group. That alone shows that she's more concerned with protecting her image than validating the person that she harmed. Finally, she ends the statement by saying that she hopes people won't blame her friends or her community for her actions, and even teases a separate document about Dress to Impress. That makes it sound like she's trying to shift the attention away from herself and onto the game, almost like a PR move. Now, my personal thoughts on this whole situation was that B's response was not at all about accountability. It was about damage control. She minimized what she did constantly, filled the statements with excuses about her mental health, and even tried to make up a story about her growth rather than the fact that she a 16-year-old kid. Now, before we move on, I just want to quickly point out, no matter what they say or what response they will make in the future, or even this response alone, her having depression or whatever excuses she brought up in that response does not at all justify what she did or said to Logan. Just one screenshot, specifically the one on screen right now, BeaPlays told a 16-year-old boy, "Don't fall back to sleep, you'll miss the recording, I'll show you if you wake back up, I will rub your if you wake back up." Now, before we move on, I do want to quickly address something. I have seen some people stating that, hey, she took accountability and acknowledged what she did was wrong. That's literally all she can do. Most people under this pressure or fire just disappear. First of all, we're talking about a situation where someone was online. That's one thing. People shouldn't just disappear, they should go to prison. I just want to make that pretty clear. Another thing, she's trying to excuse a child with, "Oh, I was depressed. and I had dysphoria. Well, what can you do? I guess we could let them get away. That's obviously not how that works. I completely disagree with this tweet. I wouldn't be surprised if other people held similar beliefs as this person, but yeah, it's a really weird and bad take. People online should go to prison. I feel like this is this equivalent to saying grass is green, but it looks like not everyone completely understands that, so I just wanted to point that out. Anyways, back on topic. So, just a few hours after B posted her response, Logan came forward again, and this time he wasn't holding anything back. He released a full statement directly addressing B's so-called apology, and he completely tore it apart. Right away, Logan makes it clear that he doesn't buy her remorse at all. In his words, "I honestly only believe you are apologizing because you f***ed up and got caught. You were simply trying to soften the blow of things. That's not just frustration talking, that's someone who lived through it pointing out that B's statement wasn't about accountability, but about saving face." He also directly calls B out for twisting the timeline. She tried to make it sound like she was 19 when they first met, but Logan corrected her saying you were 20 and I was 16. That's a huge detail because B clearly wanted to blur the age gap and make it seem less than it really was. Logan also reveals that all the expensive support B flaunted, things like his $2,000 laptop, weren't just generous gifts. He writes, "All that support for my $2,000 laptop was because you bought content off of me." That single line alone completely blows apart her narrative of being some kind of supporting mentor. It shows that everything was transactional, tied directly to. He went even further in the document, pointing out that B downplayed the UK trip in her response, when in reality it was a major part in their story. Logan said, "Within months of us knowing each other, the plans were already being talked about for me to stay over there with you. You were making it sound like we planned this when we were adults." Again, B was rewriting history to make it sound less disturbing, and Logan wasn't going to let her get away with it. And probably one of the most devastating parts of his response is when he shuts down B's attempt to blame her behavior on mental illness. Logan flat out said that entire statement was straight up, "Stop blaming your mental illness and actually take accountability for all the things you did to me and others." By the end of his statement, it's obvious Logan feels B's apology was nothing more than a PR stunt. He even mentions that when he confronted her in private back in 2022, she reacted the same exact way: defensive, dismissive, and unwilling to truly own up to what happened. And when looking back at B's response, I again think it needs to be pointed out that she has not once addressed Logan by name, or for that matter, any of the other victims' names. In my, again, honest opinion, I think B rushed out this response because they realized that they would be for life. They wouldn't be able to find a job. I mean, they left the STAR program back in September 5th, so their STAR code no longer works. They weren't able to go to RDC, so there's no connections there. Her entire YouTube career is destroyed, and her checkmark on Roblox is now gone. In terms of online, she no longer has any ability to secure a proper job, especially if the Roblox game that would potentially hire them would do background checks. I mean, it's practically over. Don't even get me started. They would hire her, hopefully. Anyways, regarding the dress to impress stuff and how they responded to the whole situation, I was actually looking around on Twitter and I saw a lot of people saying that Dress to Impress had to lock down their Discord server. Now, I'm looking at the Discord server right now. I haven't seen them make any announcements or anything regarding the situation. The only thing I did see was a post on Twitter that was more like an apology regarding the event about Lady Gaga, nothing about BeaPlays. Now, looking at the Discord server, the only stuff under general that I could see was voice chat 2, and event voice chat. It looks like they deleted all general chats. Either they deleted it or locked it behind a certain role. But even using third-party softwares that would allow me to see all channels, voice chats are the only thing that you could see. So it looks like they just completely wiped all general chats from their Discord server. Now, in my honest opinion, I think that is a little bit weird. I wouldn't go outright accusing them that they're trying to hide the whole BeaPlays situation, but for me, I think that it is a little weird that they don't have a general chat that allows those players to speak about the situation, because, again, you guys got to keep in mind, BeaPlays was a pretty big figure in this game. They were a community manager for this game, a really big role, and people on their Discord server are not allowed to talk about it. They have to go to Twitter to talk about it, and on Twitter, let's just say there's some stupid people that are defending BeaPlays for really stupid reasons. I think those might be rage bait accounts. That's why I'm not speaking about them in this video too much. But my main point is that I think it's really weird that there's no real place where these people could have actual discussions about the BeaPlays situation. Now, I think this is where I'll be ending off the video for today. I've been looking around on Twitter to see if there's been any other updates from BeaPlays, maybe making another response regarding Logan's response, but there's been nothing so far. Obviously, this is an ongoing situation, so if there will be any updates, I will be making another video about it. But until then, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts down below. Again, I think this is genuinely one of the craziest things that happened today. There's so much happening now that on Roblox that I can't even say this week because Roblox literally got sued yesterday. Again, we live in a lovely time. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.